So, I'm in a part of the country today where before things started to dry out, Native Americans used to call this place home, and there's signs of their prior inhabitants of this area. The specific spot I'm going into is difficult to get into, in part because there's a road that goes around it, but you can't actually get to the bottom of it very easily. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to see some stuff that's a little bit harder to find than your average person might be willing. I was hoping that I wouldn't need to bring so much water with me, but it looks like all of the rivers have dried up already for this year. You can kind of see this one right here, bone dry. That way I wouldn't need to carry so much water with me, but not getting that lucky this time. I'm not sure what animal this is exactly, but a bone of some sort. You can see over there some of the established gazebos and things like that. That is a managed site where you can have a short little tour around some of those cliff faces over there and check out some Native American art from upwards of as far as a few thousand years ago. You guys hear that? Dog or coyote? It almost sounds like a recording, but it's coming from multiple directions. Right in the canyon I'm about to be going into too, that's great. Well, this seems as good of a spot as any to set up for camp at. I set up camp and I have a little bit of a fire going right now, keeping an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get out of control. I think it'll be a good campsite, especially to see the stars tonight. I cut up some vegetables before I came out here. As I mentioned at the beginning, this place used to be where a number of different Native American groups used to live in, at least a semi-permanent capacity. The oldest known continuous inhabitants were a very settled people who had a wide range of agriculture in this valley. For unknown reasons, these inhabitants either disappeared or integrated with a couple of semi-nomadic peoples that began to inhabit the area after them. The first Europeans to travel through this area noted the abundant petroglyphs, and after the United States pushed the natives off the land, it eventually became recognized as a historical archaeological site. While I was researching this place, I also noted that, on either side of this area, there have been archaeological sites for dinosaur bones. I misstate in the video that some of these cliffside paintings could be upwards of 4,000 years old. This is not correct. The oldest proposed dates of these petroglyphs only date to the first few hundred years AD. This area borders an elk trophy hunting district and is known to have a wild horse population. Black bears and mountain lions are known to call this place home, and it will not be very surprising if this is an area where a reintroduction of grizzly bears or wolves become a reality, against the wishes of the locals. As I explore this area, let me know in the comments if I missed some obvious markings on the rocks or not. I wonder what the pottery would look like if you tried to make it into something. You can kind of see some of the layers here. I wonder how much of that's even clay. The only thing I've found so far is this rock right here. It's hard to really tell. It kind of has the general shape that you would want, but not convinced. I don't think it really is, but who really knows? Back before the United States pushed out the natives, this land was not as eroded as it is now. The dirt cliff sides that are exposed are a relatively recent phenomenon that have only occurred in the last 140 years. Before this time, the area was wetter and flatter, making travel, hunting, agriculture, and building easier. It looks like this is all of the river that's left currently in the area. Not too surprising, I suppose. Looks mostly like elk and deer. Well, so far I haven't gotten that lucky. Exploring out here to see if I can find any less accessible remnants of some Native American culture in the area. I've moved up towards the main ravine, and I'm on the edge now of the little side stream facing an area I know has art. Color me surprised if I'm going to be checking out these cliff faces and see absolutely zero signs of anything. I guess let me know if you see something that I missed too. One thing I'm curious about is what causes rocks to do that. I'm not a geologist by any means, but it always seems odd to me that that's likely not man-made, that's natural. I wanted to see what was up there, but my gosh darn drone. It's gonna bother me. Well, I have not found much of anything at all. A little disappointing, but not every adventure can end in discovery. You can see that yellow little speck over there. That's my campsite. Don't want to brag too much. Still looking on these cliff faces for any sort of rock paintings or drawings or the stippling where they carve into the rock face. I'll probably stop by the known sites, the listed sites, sometime before I leave this place, just that way I can kind of show you what they look like. Since I grew up in a place that doesn't have reptiles, really, I mean, they have gardener snakes, things like that, but doesn't have like lizards or skinks or whatever you want to call these guys. I'm always fascinated whenever I see him. If you look in my shadow, he's about at my chest level, right below my neck. He's turning towards me. I'm going to try and get close to him. You can kind of see him around the plant right there. Any lizard experts want to tell me what that is, please let me know. It's cool looking to me. Doesn't seem to mind me too much. I feel like I won't stress him out too much by trying to pick him up. Oh. See you later, little man. I think these are like rabbit weed or something, rabbit flower or something like that. I can't remember. Here, I'm pretty sure you can see the stippling in that half moon. And it looks like there's some orange or red pigment that's been smeared against the rock right there. It's kind of too faded to really see what it is or what they were trying to show there. I wish it was better preserved, but still kind of cool to stumble across. There's some graffiti here using a Latin script. It's in cursive and it's not super well etched into the rock face. Utah, I want to say Utah. And there's a date up there, scratched in, of 1935. I was walking back to my campsite, and lo and behold, it's pretty faded. I'm going to get a lot closer to it, but that's rock art. You can see a little man right there. And there's another figure kind of punched into the rock face right there. You can kind of see how it looks like someone got a rock and basically chipped off the front layer of that. Same concept. I don't think these are what are considered carrot men. I'm glad I at least found something. Wonder how long that's been there for. That's pretty neat. Looks like a elk skull sitting down there on the ground. It's a pretty monster of an animal, regardless. Let me know what you think. Snake molted. You can see its old skin right there. I was really looking forward to this night due to the remote aspects of this location. There are no nearby towns, let alone cities. I had the surrounding area entirely to myself. This would mean that there would be no light pollution, in addition to an anticipated few hours of absolute dead silence in the middle of the night and before evening truly rolls in. All I needed to do at this point of the evening was set up a time-lapse camera and change into warmer clothes, since the nighttime temperatures were expected to dip into the mid-40s. Good morning. Slept pretty well, stayed up pretty late watching the stars. Hopefully the time-lapse came out good, but I'll put in a couple of photos that I took with my phone. It's probably the best thing I have right now for taking photos of the night, but you could really see everything and it was great. Woke up around 4 a.m. I heard something pretty big somewhere on this ridge over here. Not really sure, maybe it'd be like a goat or a bear or something, so I'm gonna go get changed and then check out to make sure my food's still here and nothing was taken away. Well, it looks like they didn't find the food and didn't mess around with it all too much, which is good. Well, I have my camp packed up. I'm just gonna do a quick little exploration. I wanna take another look at that bit of rock art that I found yesterday and then see if I might be able to see a little bit more if I kept going a little bit further. Man, I wonder what that is. Kind of cool, you can see some of the relief there. Some more animal bones. I'm not sure what these ones are. Oh, that's just a crack. Whole bunch of bird nests in there too. When the U.S. settlers took over this land, they hunted, trapped, and eliminated much of the beaver population. For a while, the removal of the dams and beavers seemed to have no noticeable effect on the topography of the area. This was until it started to have a lot of rain. This rain washed out the soil in the valleys, leading to the look that you see in this footage. It is believed that the beaver dam slowed erosion, helped level the ground, and acted almost like a natural irrigation system, keeping the water in the area for longer. In modern times, the ranchers in the area have started to build the infrastructure to remedy the prior generation's errors. They are also the primary force behind the current preservation of the area. A lot of the rock art in the area has not survived the hundreds to thousands of years since they were first created. Part of my goal in creating a video like this is to preserve a visual record of what is currently still out there before the face of the rock falls away, the paint is washed off, or people vandalize these artworks. I figured before I leave, I'd at least show you what some of the other art in the area looks like. This is from a more well-known site. You can kind of see what looks like a deer right there. Kind of hard to make out, but there's something else right here as well. Looks like a person. Not sure, maybe symbol, maybe it was added later by some vandals. Some more. Hard to make out just because of the erosion and time's toll on it. Here are more rock paintings. Fortunately, it looks like there's some vandalism up top, but nothing too horrible. This guy's supposed to be Cocopelli. Luckily, it looks like the rock face is about to carve off, and so it looks like some people, to preserve it, strapped a piece of wrought iron around it to keep it in place. There's another sort of drawing over here. Some vandalism, of course. Lots of vandalism. And then there's another figure up here of some sort. Most of the drawings in this area originated in 600 to 1400 AD, but there's carvings and markings on the rocks here that date back as far as up to 4,000 years ago. And I'm sure if you went digging really hard, you'd probably find some Clovis arrow tips that could be dated back as far as 10,000 BC. Luckily, where I was at specifically in camping, the carvings there don't seem to have any graffiti. It's a little bit harder to get to than the place I'm at currently. But all these places that are pretty easy to access seem to have a lot of graffiti, unfortunately. Kind of depressing that people come up here to try and mark, a historic artifact sort of like this. This one specifically they think is from before 1400. And it's amazing that it survived as long as it has. Part of it's probably because it's sheltered from the rain under that underlook. Kind of makes me wonder how much of the red splotches that I saw on my hike yesterday and exploring around, how much of that was just paint that's faded away from the rain.